Welcome to our Gifts of God program. I'm so happy to have you with us today, and I hope you're doing well and having happiness in your life, because that's the theme that I want to talk about today. In the last couple sections that we did with the Gifts of God in our podcasts, there were two sections, and it was chapter 21. They were the last two sections in the chapter, and one was the last unanswered question, and then the next one was the shift within. Okay, so I want to talk about those two sections today because the theme was constant joy. It was talking about constant joy. And I think that we all would say we would like to have happiness. We would like to have joy. And we do sometimes. Sometimes we do. But those moments of our joy are kind of sandwiched between all of our misery. You know, it's not what you would call a constant joy. Now, when the Course in Miracles uses a word, usually it uses it in the absolute sense. So if it uses the word constant, that would mean continual with no breaks. It wouldn't have gaps. It wouldn't have deviations, right? So constant joy would be a kind of a joy that is present, that never turns sour, it never turns to its opposite, it never, reverses itself, it never fades, never diminishes, it's always there. So that's the thing I want to talk about today. And I think it's a very important thing that we look at as students of the Course, and also looking at our life and doing what Krishnamurti would call being brutally honest about what is actually going on in our life. Sometimes we have kind of a notion of what we would like our life to be like, but then when you put that picture next to what's actually there, the two don't match up, we fall short. So what are those things that cause our shortcoming, that prevent us from having this constant joy? Well, in the section before this last one, where it said the unanswered question, there was a question that said, do I want to see what I denied because it is the truth? Okay? Do I want to see what I denied because it is the truth? So we have to say, well, do we want to see that thing that is the truth that we've denied? And what is that? What is that? What is that truth? And do we see that we denied it? And are we willing to admit we denied it? So we'd have to also admit, if we denied the truth, then that has to mean we're living a false life. Most people don't want to ever admit that. For us to look at how we are living a false life, we would again have to be brutally honest, like Krishnamurti said. Because what comes with living a false life is also wasting life. wasting life. You know, life is energy. Life is just a flow of energy moving along, right? And we're in the river of that energy. We're in the momentum of that energy. And what's the nature of that energy? And what's true about that energy? And have we really made contact with that energy? Well, it says, well, let me see what I've denied because it is the truth. So if we've denied that energy or that flow of that energy and the real nature of that energy, we're responsible for that. But it also makes us not fully alive. If this energy is life and it's in a flow and it's going along and we're in it, but we're somewhat denying it, then we're not totally in the flow of it. And this is what the Course is trying to correct in us. It's trying to undo our resistance, undo our doubts, undo our denials, undo our pretentiousness, how we maybe pretend to be happy, but maybe we're not. You know, a lot of people stuck in relationships for years and years, and maybe they were happy the first 10 years, but then the next 20 years, they're miserable together. But they can't admit that, because if they did, they'd have to do something about it, and that would mean some other difficult thing. Like maybe they would disappoint the church or disappoint their families or whatever, disappoint the kids. So we use a lot of excuses why to be in a pretentious situation where we're pretending everything's all right and everything's not all right. And that's what that question is. Do I want to see what I denied because it is the truth? So later, like in that next section, it's defining that truth, defining what that truth is that we've denied. And it calls it constant joy, constant happiness. There's another lesson. It says, God's will for me is perfect happiness. That's 101, right? Lesson 101, God's will for me is perfect happiness. Well, the thing about God's will is it doesn't have opposites. It just is what it is. So it's like God's will for us is perfect happiness. So anything not that wouldn't be His will. Conflict, illness, suffering, anger, fear, guilt, those would not be God's will. And it only says that the truth is the consistency with God's will. It defines the truth as God's will, or what God created, right? What the Creator created would be true. Anything we made up that's not in harmony with that will would be false. So if the will of the Creator is happiness, which it is, and we're not happy, then we're in competition with God, and we're asserting a separate will that goes against His will, or her will. You see the logic of that? If God's will for me is perfect happiness, and I have some other thing that's not that, I know, oh, in this situation, I'm not perfectly happy. Well, then that's going against the will of the Creator, and I am doing that. I am making that up. It's not really there, but I think it is, and then I project, the external situation to reflect what I'm thinking. So, in other words, happiness is an inside job. Many people think that, well, if this situation and this situation line up and I get what I want, I'll be happy. So they base their happiness on external situations. Well, what if happiness doesn't rely on the external situation? What is it? Then how do we make contact with it? It's closer than our own breath. It's swifter than our own thoughts. In this next section that says the shift within, which I'm going to read a few sections of that. The shift within, well, the shift is from the ego's perspective of looking for happiness outside to our holiness perspective, where we see that the source of happiness is inside, not outside. It's all contained inside of us, happiness. And then if you take it one step farther, there's a line in this next section that says, God created you as happiness. You are happiness. It's not a condition separate from your identity. So we can't say, well, Monique's a God-created being, and she's seeking happiness. Maybe she'll find it, maybe she won't. Well, the finding may be how we are aware of it, but the happiness is already there. She already is happiness. She may not be aware of it, but God created her as happiness. That's her nature. That's her original state. That's her being as God created her. There's a lesson that's repeated 3 times. I am as God created me. Right? I am as God created me. Well, what would that be? That would have to be happiness. That would have to be a heavenly state. People don't sit around in heaven and talk about their problems and commiserate and do a lot of boo-hoos, They sit in heaven rejoicing, riding their bicycles, right, Galera? Riding their bike on their 110-kilometer rides and joyously triumphant. So that's our true nature. I'm not jesting about happiness. It's a serious thing. And it's wonderful to have experiences which are external that confirm our inner happiness, right? But it's also independent. The happiness is independent of even the joyous experiences we have, like riding the bike, having the elation of traveling 110 kilometers and getting back and saying yay. So nothing wrong with that. That's great. It's what happiness should be showing you. But the source of it is not that. The source comes from deep within. And that's what we want to make contact with. And I just wanted to look at this one section. This is very powerful. It says, the constancy of joy is a condition quite alien to your understanding. Now, it's same constancy, right? That means continual with no breaks. Like it starts, we don't even know when, but it never ends. It never deviates from joy. It's constant. Yet, if you could even imagine what it must be, you would desire it, although you understand it not. Well, I think we have to make that declaration, because this section makes everything clear about the purpose of why we're even studying this Course in Miracles. Now, we know in the beginning of studying it, most of the work is undoing our old thought system. And that's very clear. Don't hold grievances, give up your attack thoughts, give up your anger, forgive those people who you had all these judgments about. There's nothing to fear. You're sinless, not guilty. All those things. Those require undoing, right? And we know that, and we've been doing that. We've been working on that. And many of us have been working on that for, it seems, forever. But now we're at a point where once you do that internal cleansing, right? From the forgiveness, from the letting go, from the self-examination, from deciding not to hold grievances, deciding that you want to be free of conflict, you want to be free of guilt, you want to be free of fear. We've made those decisions. But now what's the next step? And these two sections are giving us what that is. It's calling it the constancy of joy. The constancy of happiness has no exceptions, it says. Now, when it says has no exceptions, it means none, ever, in all time and space. It doesn't mean like, oh, right now it doesn't have exceptions, but maybe in a couple of years it'll have an exception. Like, oh yeah, I was so delighted to get married to Mary Jane, and we had such a wonderful sex life, and it went on for 10 years, and then she had an affair, and the whole thing fell apart, and I hate her guts now. You see what I mean? That's an exception. And this constancy of happiness has no exceptions, no change of any kind. It is unshakable, as is the love of God for His creation. Sure in its vision, as its creator is in what He knows, happiness looks on everything and sees it as the same. Well, I had a little trouble with that. At first, everything's the same. I mean, as kind of an artist, you like the nuances of things and the differences of things and how they look together and the contrast, and you like that kind of richness of variety. And this is saying, well, it's all the same. But I think it means something different than what we think it is. It's not measurable by our senses. Everything is the same in that it is all connected to its divine source, its spiritual source. Everything is connected to that. So everything being connected to that source, the nature of it would have to be happiness too. Everything has happiness embedded within it. All right? So in that way, it's the same. Now it's talking about the constancy of joy. It says, it sees not the ephemeral, for it desires everything be like itself and sees it so. Well, if something is eternal and never changes, like constant joy, it's a good thing that everything is like it. It sees everything to be like itself, and it sees it as so. Nothing has power to confound. That means nothing has power to disturb, confound, change its constancy, because its own desire cannot be shaken. So when you have this desire for constant joy, then you've ended the denial. You know, that question, do I want to see what I denied because it is the truth? So if constant joy is the truth, and I haven't experienced joy as constant, then I've denied it. But now we're looking at it. We're looking at that denial. And it's a stage we have to go through. And this section is taking it through that stage. Nothing has power to confound the constancy of joy, because its own desire cannot be shaken. So once you tap into that desire for constant joy, not just a little here and there, not just when we have a joyful moment and then the next day we have a fight with our wife or husband or something. It comes as surely unto those who see the final question is necessary to the rest. That's the question, do I want to see what I denied because it's the truth? That's a necessary question. We need to look at our denial of constant joy. As peace must come to those who choose to heal and not to judge. Well, that's interesting, because often the Course asks us to look at our inner demons, right? And then we look and we see, oh yeah, we have some of those. Well, we're supposed to look at them, but not beat ourselves up and feel guilty about it. Of course not. Because the demons that I have are the same demons that everybody else has. There are no special demons here. They're all the same. Peace must come to those who choose to heal and not to judge. So I'm not going to judge myself if in the past I couldn't maintain constant joy, and if in the past I had things that made me feel guilty, or in the past I got angry and, ruined some relationships. I'm not going to judge that in myself. It's past. And we're focused on the healing of all that now. And the constant joy is the very thing that's going to heal that past. So just pay attention. Reason will tell you that you cannot ask for happiness inconstantly. Okay, so this this new kind of mind that we've been looking into. Some of the sections before this, we're talking about the nature of reason. And reason will always decide towards something universal, something divine, something real, something absolute, right? It'll lead you to that. It'll undo the relative thoughts that we have going on and put you in touch with the absolute thoughts that God gives to us. And one of those being constant joy. So if you're asking for happiness, reason will tell you that you cannot ask for happiness. If you're really asking for happiness, you have to ask inconstantly. Like you have to ask and keep asking, and your request is eternal. It's like you can't say, well, I want it today, but maybe tomorrow I won't want it. No, it's inconstant. It's the same vibration. Your request is the same vibration of that which you are requesting, right? So your request has to be constant, and then the thing you get, which is joy, has to be constant to fulfill this reason. For if what you desire you receive, and happiness is constant, now here's a line, you've got to really look at this, then you need ask for it but once. You need ask for it but once to have it always. Think about that. If you ask God or the divine or the universal life force to give you something real, to give you the truth, let's say, why would that life force not give it to you? Well, it wouldn't hold it back. If you really asked for something and it was real and you're sincere in your request, it has to be granted. So if you get really clear that you are requesting constant happiness, then you only need to ask for it once, because it would be granted. And you have to have the faith of that kind of power. Your request has power when you know who you're asking it of, the creator of the universe. You're asking to give you what you already have. He or she put constant joy in you when you were created. So you already have it. You're just asking to have what you already have. But for thousands of lifetimes, you forgot you had it. You weren't aware of it. Now we're asking to wake up and see that we have it and be with it. Let it come forth. Let it awaken us. Let it be there to use in our daily life. You need ask for it but once to have it always. Now here's the next one. If you do not have it always, being what it is, you did not ask for it. So that's interesting. So we probably all admit we don't have constant joy, right? Wouldn't we mostly admit that? We have joy, But it's not this constant one that never deviates, never changes to something else, never falls into lower frequency. Now this says, if you do not have it always, being what it is, you didn't ask for it. So we were never clear enough, never focused enough to ask for this constant joy. And then if we did ask for it, we'd say, oh, it's not possible. There's too many problems in the world, too many unknown factors that could sabotage me in the future. We call that catastrophic thinking. You're always thinking about what could go wrong. Murphy's Law, well, if it could go wrong, it will go wrong. Me and my bikes, like, oh, I had all those bikes and I wrecked every one of them, therefore I shouldn't get a new bike because I could get killed the next time. You know, that's catastrophic thinking based on the past. Has nothing to do with constant joy. If you do not have it always, constant joy, being what it is, you did not ask for it. For no one fails to ask for his desire of something he believes holds out some promise of the power of giving it. So if you desire something and you believe that if you receive it, it has a promise of it, you know, improving your life, giving you more resources, giving you something to give that has value. If you have joy, it increases by giving it away, right? That's a principle in the Course. All that I give to myself and I give to the world. To give and to receive are one in truth. So the more I give this joy, the more it comes back to me. No one fails to ask for his desire of something he believes holds out some promise of the power of giving. He may be wrong in what he asks, where and of what, yet he will ask, because desire is a request, an asking for, and made by one whom God himself will never fail to answer. So if you have a thought, I'm not worthy to have constant joy, God will answer that and you won't get it because he's just given you what you've requested. You've requested to not be worthy of constant joy, and he'll give you that, and that's what you'll get. But if you say, well, that's just my personal lie, that's just church conditioning, that's just my family mind, I'm giving all that up, and I see that I deserve as a son of God, a daughter of God, the best that God has to offer me, and God's offering constant joy, I'm requesting that. And I'm worthy to receive it. You see, then God has to grant that. So if your request is coming from the ego, God will give you that. If your request is coming from your higher self, God will give you that. So you decide who's making the request and what are you requesting. God has already given all that he really wants. Meaning God's already given us all these things that we say we really want. Yet, what he is uncertain of, God cannot give. If we're uncertain of this constant joy, God can't give it to us. But if we know we deserve it, and we know it can be given, and we can receive it, and there is such a thing as constant joy, some people would even say, oh, that doesn't exist. That's just a fantasy. Life has its ups and downs. It has its joys, it has its sorrows, it has its mistakes, and blah, blah, blah. And you can never be happy all the time. Well, if that's what you believe, that's what you'll get. So that's what he says. Yet, what he is uncertain of, God can't give you that. If you're uncertain that there is constant joy, you won't be granted it. For he does not desire it while he remains uncertain, and God's giving must be incomplete unless it is received. So if God has given us constant joy, but we're uncertain we have it or deserve it, then even God's giving is incomplete. We're blocking the flow, right? The flow is God wants to give us constant joy. The block is all of our family conditioning, all of our societal conditioning, our church conditioning, our money case, our sex case, our relationships case. All that stuff's blocking what God gave us. You who complete God's will and are his happiness, there's that line I was telling you about. When it says, you are God's happiness, that's a statement of identity. You are happiness. That is your identity. You who complete God's will and are his happiness, whose will is powerful as his, a power that is not lost in your illusions. Think carefully why you have not yet decided how you would answer the final question. Final question is, do I want to see what I denied because it is the truth? The truth would be constant joy. Okay, we've admitted we denied it. But now we're also admitting we're making our request. We're lining up our desire with what God wills for us, which is perfect happiness and constant joy. And we're making this request. Right now, you who are listening to this, we have a few people here, and anybody listening to this video, it's time to make this request. First, it's time to answer the question, do I want to see what I denied? Because it's the truth, we have to first admit, it's like a confession. Oh, I confess, I denied constant joy, and that was my denial, nobody else's. I did that. I'm sorry, God, universe. I screwed up. I made the wrong choices. But help me get beyond it and now make the right request, which is for constant joy. So we're doing that right now. Think carefully why you have not yet decided how you would answer the final question. Well, we did. Your answer to the others has made it possible to help you be ready, help you to be partly sane. And yet it is the final one that really asks if you are willing to be wholly sane. What is the holy instant but God's appeal to you to recognize what he has given you? So in this holy instant that I give to you, I give to God, be you in charge, for I would follow you, certain that your direction gives me peace, gives me constant joy. This is the holy instant we offer to our Creator, to receive back the constant joy. And we're making this request right now. What is the holy instant but God's appeal to you to recognize what he has already given you? so that we see. He already gave us constant joy. But because of our shenanigans, we haven't been aware of it for lifetime after lifetime. We carried it within us the whole time. It was never affected by our shenanigans, but the shenanigans made us miserable, and now we're not doing those things, so now we could receive what He's already given us. Here is the great appeal to reason. The awareness of what is always there to see, the happiness that could be always yours. Here is the constant peace you could experience forever. Forever. Like after listening to this video, you never have to be in a state of mind with anything other than peace and joy, because real peace and joy emanates from within you. It's always there, never changes. It's constant, and you'll always have it forever. Because that's the nature of who you are. You are as God created you. Has no beginning, has no end. It's immortal. Here is what denial has denied revealed to you. So we're revealing the nature of constant joy in this video, in this talk with you. For here the final question is already answered, and what you asked for already given. Here is the future now. So what's the future? Future is just a continual cavalcade of present moments. And those moments over here we call the future. Now. Well, the 500th now is sometimes in the future, but that it's handled. Here is the future now. Those are going to all be constant joy. Here is the future now. For time is powerless because of your desire for what will never change. What will never change. The nature of your true self will never change. It was in the beginning, is now, and ever shall be. Who you are as God created you. Created to be constant joy. That will never change. For you have asked that nothing stand between the holiness of your relationship and your awareness of its holiness. So that relationship would be your relationship with your Creator that established the holiness. And when you're aware of that relationship, it's in your mind, it's constant. The nature of that relationship is joy, delight, elation, celebration, happiness. perfect happiness. So let's come together today and make this decision. It's not that hard when you get the clarity. It's your inheritance. How many more lifetimes are you going to go without claiming it? And just forgive yourself for all the misperception. Everybody fell into it, not just you. Everybody had to go through that. Even Amaji, incarnated into a family that was cruel to her. Cruel. She would be like feeding the sick people, and her family would be beating her and saying, "Yeah, you're not doing your household chores." She'd be doing who she is to come do, and the family would be whipping her because she wasn't conforming to the family mind. You see what I mean? So everybody has to go through some kind of ego entanglement. I mean, unless you're Babaji and you take a body without even going through a woman or a family, you're directly manifested from the light. It's a little different. But if you come through the womb of a woman, you definitely have some family mind to clear. And yeah. Well, here in Lake Wobegon, I have a new bike, and I'm so happy with that. And it's part of my constant joy. I think, and that was the other thing, when I was, deciding about this bike and saying, I don't know, I've wrecked all my bikes in the future, maybe not a good idea. Then I said, well, what are you talking about? This just is offering you constant joy. And why do you think you'd have another wreck if you're in constant joy? I said, well, you're right. I've just been screwing myself up around bikes my whole life, and I'm not going to do it anymore. It's only going to bring me joy. And I went out the next day and I bought the thing. So, alrighty. This was so wonderful being with you. I love you guys so much. Really, I do. These times on Sunday and the mantra breathe, we live for those. It's part of our constant joy. So, thank you so much. God bless. Write to us during the week if you need to. You know where we are. All righty. God bless you.